In this webinar, we are going to cover the following topics. An introduction about this framework, how to configure this framework to build an application, how it works, and a demonstration to build an application. So if we talk about the advantages of this framework, it's a server-side framework. We can build a UI in Java or Kotlin, so we don't have to worry anything about HTML and JavaScript. We can achieve very complex UI requirements because the UI is built by logical programs. For every framework there will be some disadvantages. For this framework, it is something like it is not intended for SE friendly websites, and we must be good at Java or Kotlin. If we talk about the applications of this framework, we can build a real-time application, an application which shows real-time updates in different parts of the UI. We can build highly secure application because the UI logic is kept at the server side. So it is good for financial application, banking application, any business application, and it is good for reactive application because if we want to get a best user experience, we can also use threads at the server side to achieve best user experience. So it is also good for building reactive application. So let's go to the configuration part. In a configuration, if we have to understand, basically we have to understand two classes. First one is browser page and browser page context. These are the two classes we need to understand in the configuration, and another is WebSocket configuration. So if we talk about the browser page represents browser page instance represents a specific tab in the browser page. For example, this specific tab will be an instance of a browser page. So in the case of the browser page context means the browser page context handles all browser page instances. So we can say it's a kind of it's a collection of browser pages or a pool of browser pages. It will contain a pool of browser pages, or it will contain a collection of browser pages. So let's go to the practical use case. You can find a demo application here. You can download the demo application from here. I have already downloaded it here. So it is opened in IntelliJ. So this is the browser page. So browser page is an abstract class, and we have to extend this class. If we are extending this class, we have to override two methods. Basically, these are mandatory methods: WebSocket URL and render. These methods are mandatory because it's an abstract these methods are abstract methods. So in WebSocket URL, we have to define a URI for the WebSocket. So that means if you are defining a URI, means this browser page instance will be communicating to this WebSocket URI. So the communication is via this WebSocket URI. So before render, render means it returns an abstract object. So basically we can return a tag. It could be normally it could be a HTML instance. So in before render, we can by default it is configured for a production use. Its default value it is configured for production use. If we want to modify its default configurations, we have to write such configurations inside this before render method. This is the best place for it. And before HTML, we'll get into that later. And this render method will be invoked only once in an instance. For example, for this browser page instance, if you are creating an instance of this browser index page, then this will be invoked only once. That is only when you call to HTML string method. We will look into that later. Let's see the configuration, WebSocket configuration here. So this is the WebSocket configuration, and if we when we are opening a WebSocket connection, we are we are creating an instance of we are adding this WebSocket connection to this browser page instance. So the browser page instance, how we are getting this browser page instance, we will look into that later. Here we have when we are opening a WebSocket connection, we are giving that connection to this browser page. So we are adding this connection to this browser page. When we are closing when we are closing this connection, WebSocket connection, we have to remove this. We don't manually have to remove it. We have to specify in the browser page instance whether it is closed or not. If it is closed, then we have to call this method. So if we go to these configurations, you can understand how it works. It is very simple. And on message means when the client sends messages to to this framework and to the server. So this is the on message. So those binary data will be available here. So we are transferring this data into the payload processor. So payload process basically payload processor is obtained from the browser page instance. So you can see when we from the browser page instance we are obtaining the payload. So on message we are simply passing this message to the payload. So why we need to do it with the payload processor? Because this will be the data will be could be a huge data. Some cases if we have a big text box and it contains a lot of data, then it will we will have to read it by chunk. So for that purpose we are using a payload processor. And okay, one more thing we have to understand is yes, here when we are when the WebSocket is open, we are adding the WebSocket connection, and in the WebSocket connection we are adding a listener to the WebSocket. Okay, sorry, we are adding a listener to the browser page. So this is the WebSocket listener. So see, you can see the basic get basic remote, send binary data. So the browser page is able to send data through the WebSocket to the client using this method. So that is the reason why we are registering the listener here. So this is the idea about this. Now let's get into the index page. This is the index page. Let's see. This is an index page servlet. So this is an index page servlet. So when we creating, we have to create an instance of the browser index page. So this is index page is means it's a browser page instance. So when we are once we created, if we are creating an instance, and this will be added to the browser page instance, browser page context instance. For example, browser page context dot instance, it's a singleton class. So we are adding after creating this index page, and after that we are streaming into the UI. So basically, so that is how we are able to get the browser page instance in uh, in in this class. So for example, see, that is how we are obtaining this browser page instance by this method. Okay, WebSocket open means this using the instance ID we can obtain the browser page instance. So we can see, if we look into this, first it is creating an index page browser page instance. So it is checking whether this model is already available. So it is saved in the session. If it is available, if it is not available, then in whatever cases, in any case, we have to create an index page. So when we are session dot, okay, session, okay, this is we are adding this browser page into this index browser page context. So this is the session ID, HTTP session ID, and this is the browser page instance, and after that we are streaming it to the UI. So this is registered by the session ID, but here we are obtaining with the instance ID. So so sorry sorry instance ID. So instance ID is not the session ID. Instance ID is a unique ID for this browser page instance. So you can see, I'll show you some example. Okay. See, if this is the instance ID, that is what we are that we can get by, from the first request to the WebSocket connection. I mean, yes, when the WebSocket receives the handshake request, then we can get the instance ID as a parameter in the query parameter, and so using that we can get the browser page. So when we are adding this browser page into this browser page context, it will automatically map with its instance ID. So that is how we are able to get the browser page instance here. Okay, and next is the WebSocket configuration. We have already covered that, and how it works, that is what we have to understand. So this is the index page servlet. Sorry, this is the index page servlet. You can see the index page URI. So okay, index page. Okay, the default page is index page, the welcome page is index page. Okay, so when we receive when it receives the request in this portion, it is creating an index page. So the outcome of this index page is the HTML. So So for example, we are returning an index page layout here. So the index page layout is basically it extends HTML. So this will be the two HTML string method of this index page layout will be normally an HTML. So that is what we are writing it to the client. Okay, so it makes when it this HTML will contain a needful JavaScript code to communicate with the server. So the framework will automatically generate needful JavaScript code to communicate with the server. So basically this is the idea. So the first request it will receive here, and the rest of the communications are through the WebSocket connection. So that is the idea. So it communicates through the WebSocket connection, and its browser page state is also kept at the server side. So this is the browser page. So let's go to the demo application. So you can find this here. You can download this project here from here. This is the website. It's a tool you can convert using this tool. You can convert HTML to the Java code or Kotlin code. So let me create an hello world application. Let's comment this one. Okay. Okay, we will do one thing. This is the index page. Okay, let's comment this. I think that will be better. The first argument of that this is a tag class. Okay, this is a tag class. The first argument of a tag class is its parent. So this is the way we have to write. So we can return it here. So this is the way we have to write. So it creates an HTML tag in the UI. So let's try. I have downloaded a Tomcat. I have written a build script here. It is simply says it is simply building the main project and copies this WAV file into this Apache Tomcat webs folder. Okay, it creates only HTML. Yes, contains HTML header body. Okay, this is, I think we have to understand. Yes, okay. I think it's tools. Okay. Okay, now it's fine. I think we, okay, we will write something like hello world. So if you want to build this HTML, we can do, we have some other way, like hello world. So this is also another way to do this. Hello world. So basically it has written hello world in the UI. So for convenience we can comment this. Now I think you may have understood this one. So for convenience we can create a separate class for this. So here is HTML. So I am extending this HTML tag. See, what we have to understand is it is something different from other applications. It doesn't provide any ready-made components. But it provides the tags and attributes, HTML tags and attributes. So for every HTML tag and HTML attribute, there is a corresponding Java class in this framework. So that's the idea. So if you want to build a div in the UI, you will have to create something like a new div. Okay. So this is a tag. So HTML, it's a tag. So I'm extending this tag in this class. So index page layout, I'm giving it its name. I'm naming it as index page layout. So this is the body. So in the body I'm writing title, meta. So what is no tag? No tag means if we want to write some text in the UI, then we can use no tag. So no tag is just to display the text. So if we look into this demo, I mean this sample program, you can see when we are writing hello world, we are using no tag to display it. So basically this index page layout is configured for Bootstrap. So Bootstrap CSS. So it contains the needful classes for Bootstrap CSS. I mean, it contains needful URLs for Bootstrap CSS and all. jQuery, it is required by the the Bootstrap. So this is the body tag, and in the body tag, I think let's remove this one. Let's empty this one. Okay, now the body tag is empty. So suppose these are the required classes for Bootstrap. I mean, these are the required URLs for Bootstrap. The metadata, these are pre-configured here. Let's comment this one. Okay. So now it will show an empty body, because in head we have declared this one link script. So in body we have written nothing, so you can say there is nothing here. So this is the HTML tag, this is also an HTML tag, these are, and this is also an HTML tag, meta tag, title. So this is the title. So if you want to write, if you want to display text, then we have to give we have to use no tag. No tag means the content which is not surrounded by a tag. So that it means meta, and see the meta UTF-8. Now let's understand the attributes. So attributes is here you can see the first argument of a tag is it represents its parent tag, or maybe we can say base tag. So the first argument is parent tag. Here in this case, head that is this object. So this current object is represented by h variable. So this is the parent of this title tag, and this is the parent of this meta tag. So we are passing this h instance, h variable into this title tag as the first argument in this title tag class. So this is the idea. Now it has body, so the body contains head. This means in this case this means the current object. So the current object is HTML is the parent of this head tag, and for the body also the current object means this HTML is the parent of this body tag. Now let's write some something new div of this. dv is equal to, okay, now you can see it will create a div in the UI. Currently the body contains nothing. Now it will create a, you can see the div is created in this UI. So if we you can see the data WFF ID, it is an internal ID created by this framework. So we don't have to do anything for that, we don't have to worry anything about that. This framework is finding elements using this ID, so we don't have to worry anything about it. I want to write some hello world here. So if you want to convert this, you can also div. So this is another way to convert code. You can see the div. For the div, there is a div. So hi. Okay, now you can see this div. So hi will be printed here. Suppose we want to create a button in the UI, then it will be something like, okay, we can find bootstrap for buttons. Let's understand. Okay, let's understand the attribute. There are two types of attributes. The first attribute, now you might understand, I mean now you have understood what is a tag and attribute. So tag means this div is a tag, attribute means defer src, these are attributes. So it is for every element in the HTML. For every element and attribute there is a corresponding Java class. So if we want to build the UI, we have to build in that way using these classes. So this is the idea to build the UI. So we don't have any kind of limitations to build the UI. We can achieve any requirement. So this is button bootstrap classic btn primary. Okay, basic primary. Let's do this primary button. Let's create this primary button. Why it's not coming? Okay, so basically there are two attributes, I mean two types of attributes. The first one is normal attribute. Normal attribute is something like src, name, id, these are normal attributes. So if I am giving a name for this, I mean id for this attribute will be something like id. Okay, we have converted that code. This is the button code. So this is main div id. Okay, what we have done here is main div id. So the main div id. Okay, so this is let's create a button. Now we will understand a bit more specifically. So this id is a normal attribute. So it doesn't listen to any events. So it's a normal attribute. But there are two attribute types. The first one is normal attribute and the second one is event attributes. Event attributes basically will listen to an event. So class attribute. Actually we don't need any kind of id here. We don't have to declare any id because we are referring everything in Java using Java code. id is not useful in this context. Now you can see the primary button. So what we have done is we have created an HTML tag button, type of button. We can also write something like this: class btn. The class, this is the class attribute. It contains btn space btn hyphen primary, and we have also given the primary. So you can see the its corresponding HTML. So the button type button, class primary, and this text primary. Okay, we can also change. This is a primary button. So this is normal attribute. These are normal attributes. Type, class attribute, these are normal attributes. And another type attribute is event attribute. Suppose if you want to listen to an event, say for example on click is an event attribute. So for every event attribute there are 4 important main methods. For example, I am declaring it here for better readability. I am giving this object okay. I am giving this object. There are 4 methods in the constructor. The first argument is a string argument. It is called the pre.js function. Sorry, let's look into this. Let's look into this. This is the first argument is pre.js function body. That means if basically we have to return true or false here. So let's return false for now. This is event. This is an servicing method object. This method should also return an object. So this is an object of servicing method. You can see the servicing method. So it's a functional interface. So basically it contains you can see the servicing method. Basically it contains the async method. So this is the object. So if we have added this on click attribute here on this button. So when we are returning when we are returning false, that means this method needs it will not invoke this method. So when you are clicking the button, it will not invoke this method. But if you are returning true, then it will invoke this method. Okay. First I am returning false. This let's call this. Okay, now let's look into this console. So when you click on this button, this is printed here. So this is the text it prints, and at the server side we can see nothing is printed. This is not printed, nothing is printed. The reason is we are returning false. The false means we don't have to execute this method, so this method will not be executed. So let's return true now. Okay, when I'm clicking on this button, the button is clicked. When when we are seeing the server log, button is clicked, this is also printed. So okay, let's see. See, we can see a button is clicked, event is received in the server. So this is printed. So that means when we are returning true, that this function, this method will be invoked, and if we are returning false, when we are returning false, this method will invoke, it will not be invoked. If we are returning true, then only this method will be invoked. If you are returning false, this server async method will not be invoked. Okay, the third argument is JS filter function body. So suppose if you want to send any object from the client side, for example, this is a JavaScript object. Okay, name Java. So when we are returning name Java, then this will be will be available. We can get this value here. So the data, this is a JavaScript object, so it's conventional. Maybe we can say its corresponding Java object will be available as data. So we can also specify something else. Happy true. So maybe we can do Okay, when I'm clicking this button, sorry, when I'm clicking this button, you can see name is Java, happy is true. So we can get this value. So if we want to send any value from the client to the server, we can use this function. So it doesn't have the function declaration. It's a body part of the function. So that is why it is called pre-JS function body. Sorry, a pre-JS filter function body. It doesn't have function declaration. So the framework internally handles it. So the next one is pause function body. So we can see we are returning null here. Suppose if we want to send some value to the client side, we can also get this value here, for example. Maybe we can also say after invoking this method, this whatever we are writing here, whatever JavaScript code we are writing here, that will be executed at the client side. So for example, console.log of executing server method is finished. So this will be printed at the client side. Executing server method is finished. So this is printed here. We can also give an alert. We can also send some data from the server result. Okay. So this will be available here. So JS object is an implicit object in this scope. So this result will be this Java object will be converted into a JavaScript object that is called JS object. So we can get this message from this JS object. Message from server is this is a message from server. So we can add some other values, success, and different value types. Or we can simply log the whole object. I'm printing the whole object. you can see the message true. So this is this is the object received from the server. So you can see message success is available. Okay, now let's look into the other use cases. So this is the these are the four methods of the event attribute. Now we understood about the four methods and why we need these four methods. The use case is, suppose you want to execute this method only if the some value is valid. You may need to validate the value, and if it is valid, then only we will have to execute the server method. In such case, we can validate it here, and if it returns true, then only it will invoke. Okay, there is another thing that we have to understand. There is another implicit object here, that is source object means this is an implicit object in this scope. This source object will also be available in this scope. Okay, so the source object it represents the corresponding tag. So the current tag, the source tag. In this case, button is the source tag. So the source means this button. Okay, we will do that example later, or we can do something else. Let's declare a name on this. Okay, this button name. Now console.log. Get attribute of name. Button attribute name is button name. Okay, so when you click on this button, the source means source represents the current tag. So the source will also be available here. So suppose you want to return the name, we can do like this. Why should we type? Okay, now the name will be okay. If we look into this name, currently now the name is btn name. So this data is sent from the client side. Okay, the source tag means it's an implicit object that represents the current tag. Okay, now let's understand some methods in a tag. Suppose I want to add another button in the UI. When I click on this button, then basically I may need to do something like this is the div. So I want to add a button after this button. Then what I will be doing is, when I'm clicking the button, then only I need to do that. I will create the same. Div dot tv dot pen child. Okay, let's check another secondary button. Secondary info button. Okay, this info button will be fine. So I'm appending this button. Append child means it will append this button as a child in div tag, in this div tag. Okay, so in this div tag, you can see, so it is getting appended. So on the div it is getting appended. So why it is, okay, this button is after, okay, this button is after this div. No, okay, actually the parent is not div. Okay, the parent must be db. No, I think it is clear. So there are many tag manipulation methods. These are called tag manipulation method. So append child attributes. There are many methods like this. So suppose if I want to change an attribute, for example on this button, I can find this button using the tag repository. Tag repository means so for example the browser page, and let's get the current instance of the browser page. This is the current instance. Okay, how we are getting is, you can understand, when we are creating the this browser page, we are creating a document model. In the document model we are setting this browser page instance. That is how we are getting the browser page object here. So we can also get a tag repository. Tag repository means every tag will be available through this repository. So find one tag by id, find tag by id. Okay, let's declare some id for this tag. Find tag by id is fine. btn id. Okay, now let's change this primary to info button. Primary to info button. Now you can see when we are clicking this button, we are changing its class name. So we added another class, button info. So we can also check this. Let's focus this one. Okay, when I'm clicking this, it is converted to button info. So this is the idea about this. Okay, now let's do another case. Let's do a sample of form submission. Okay, let's convert it into the Java code. Let's remove this. My network is very slow. It's a bad luck. Okay, I think we can write our own code. the receive class. Okay, it is already yes, it is converted. I think we can copy it from here. The barrel must be deep. Okay. Now you can see the form. So how we can submit a form, the form submission case. So in our case, the action is not required, it is irrelevant. So on submit is the event attribute we need to handle here. Okay, let's turn true. But when you click on the submit button, so we can see the button is submit, type is submit type. So when you click on the submit button, this will be submitted to the default URL, but we have to prevent it. So event default, this is the method to prevent. Now when it returns true, then that means this method will be invoked at the server side. Okay, now let's send the data. In this case, ID, we don't need ID, we can use name. Yes, we need ID because it is used for label. Now what we have to do is, in this method we have to return source email colon source dot email. Source means the current object, current source tag. Source tag means, in this case, this is the source tag. So the form instance, form tag. form tag dot email. pwd password remember. This represents the element value. We have to pass the value. Okay, now we are sending the value of this email tag, this pw tag, input tag, and the remember me checkbox. Email pwd remember. So that will be body. Now let's check. Okay, test.com, test.com, pass down password remember me checked, clicked on this. See, we are getting this value here. If I am unchecking, then it is false. So test 1, you can see test 1. So this is how we can get the value using a form submission. So once the form is submitted, we may need to display some data in the UI. So how we can display the data? Okay, let's do alert box panel. we can also use this method. Oh, we are returning this. We are not returning this. We have to return. Form submitted. So this alert box is executed after submitting this form. But usually we will not have to show any alert box. You will have to show the custom style. So this is not valid here, but here we can write something like um, the starting the icon, busy icon. So before of on submit, we can start a busy icon. So here we can stop busy icon. So we have to write something to stop the busy icon, something to start here, some that we will have to um, uh, write in JavaScript. So we can write a global JavaScript which can be used to show a busy icon and to show and hide the busy icon. So this is the idea. Now let's do some bootstrap panel right here. Sir. Let's try it ourselves. 3.4 bootstrap. We have to get bootstrap 4. So basically this is the idea. I don't think it is, it will come because the network is very slow. Okay, this is the idea. So if we want to show some pop alert, we can do the same way. So a tag contains a lot of tag manipulation methods. dv dot append child, add child, add in HTML, and so on. So there are many methods that you can refer. So basically what it does is we are simply building the tags in the UI. That is only what we are doing. So we must have some idea about the HTML. So it doesn't mean we should know the the design. We can get it from anywhere. We can simply copy and we can make a one-to-one conversion of the HTML. So that is the idea. So in the next session we will discuss more in detail. Okay, anyway, thank you.